Adam Bolt, welcome to the Grapple Theory podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. We always start sort of by asking our guests about sort of their last 12 months in wrestling. It seems like 2022 had been like a pretty good year for you. It seems like you've really sort of been rising the ranks, getting to some new promotions and like really rising in the ones you were already at. Would you say that's like a fair assessment? Is that how you see it?
I'd say so, yeah. Yeah, it's a fair assessment of it.
I mean, that must be really nice when you can see that sort of progression that you're making, again, not just in the companies that you're sort of a stalwart at, but also at those new promotions who want to bring you in.
Yeah, I think the thing is for me is I always want more, which sometimes I expect it to happen overnight and then you get frustrated like everybody does. But I think coming out of lockdown, it was quite hard. I'd been hitting the gym massively in the period where we could go to the gym, but still nothing was going off. So I felt more ready for it, and then the end of 2021 was really good, and then went into 2022. There were a couple of downs here and there when they'd just be like the odd month and stuff when things didn't seem great. But I think coming into 2023, we're in mid-February, and I've had 3 debuts already, so I'm doing all right.
yeah, and that must be a really nice feeling as well to like again sort of kick the year off in such a strong way.
Yeah, it is. I feel like I wanted to try and, because last year I just focused on the year and it's easy to like just go day by day. But this year I'm really trying to focus on like month by month and not let anything pass me by. So I'm like, if I go into February and I look at my calendar and I've got this and this, it's like on the weekends I haven't got something. I'm trying to like fill it out so I have, even if it's just going to a show, just making sure, because I work from home Monday to Friday now. So like, by the time it gets to Friday, I'm pretty fed up of being at home. So, like, if I can be out, unless I've got things going on, if I can be out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just going to shows and stuff, because a lot, like, I used to get fed up, because by Sunday I'd be like, don't want to be in a show, I've got work tomorrow, but now it's like, at the worst, I've got work, but I just roll out of bed, so...
Yeah. It's a lot easier, isn't it? It's not too bad. The grind is a little less stressful when you have that extra line and you can just sit up in bed and get started.
Absolutely, yeah. And the aching as well. And it's worse when you sat still. But I think, when was it the other week? I had a match where I think it was just a House of Pain, and I did something. I took a power bomb, but it was a sit down one, and the way my arm bent over somebody's knee, it felt awful. It was one of them things the next day where it wasn't like injured. It was just more like it ached every time I moved it, like a neck thing. And I was so thankful for just sitting at home. So I just thought, this is the sort of thing that would put me in the worst mood ever if I was like driving to work.
Going back to like in ring, like wrestling, like are there like obviously I know it's different for everyone, and certain people will say certain things based on where they wrestle and where they want to wrestle. But for you, is there like a promotion or a couple of promotions you've debuted at, or like maybe are debuting at coming up, where you think like, this is like, and again, like it means no disrespect to the promotions you work on at the minute or like their size, but like bigger promotions that like you have debuted at or might have one coming up where you're like, this is the next step for me. I'm making a bigger step here by this company wanting me.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, I think one of my, just because I like the look of it, the feel, like the match cards they put out, one of my biggest goals, which came up very quick, and I feel like, just before I go on about it, I honestly feel like it will be hard in British wrestling now for me to get nervous, because the nerves I felt the other week were insane. But it was TNT in Liverpool, so I wanted to get on TNT for ages. I just like the look of it, like the venue, like the production, everything about it it just seems great. And I think there was, obviously I was where Shane Monet was doing an open challenge, and I got asked to do that. I think it was 8 days before. So I was like, and then on the day, because when I go to wrestling shows as well, normally at least there's people that, I know there's a lot of people that, I get on with and talk to, but in terms of friends, it's very rare that I'm there without, say, Jack. I mean, security by gimmick security in life, he follows me everywhere. So he couldn't be there because he was in London. So when I got there, I was like, this is awful. I hated it. But in terms of things coming, I think I'm excited for March 25th. I've got, it's for Promotion Wrestling in Newcastle, which I'm excited for that purely because I haven't been that way up yet. Which I've not thought about much. Like, I wanted to break into like the Northwest scene, obviously, but like being up in Newcastle, I was thinking, like, I've not be in front of a crowd up there as of yet. So that'll be recently debuted for True Grit as well. It's part of the Sheffield tapings, but I feel like we might be getting the ball rolling with something to do with them as well. So there's quite a stuff I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, like, you mentioned that with TNT and that without being there without Jack and stuff, like, is it almost like a sort of new kid first day of a new school kind of vibes, where you're like you know a few people, but you're like, oh, this is weird, and like you don't have, like you said, you don't have him there as like your security blanket kind of thing.
It literally is that, and it's funny because obviously he literally wears a top that says security, but it is because I think it's just like that. It is like that comfort blanket. Like it's so when, like, don't get me wrong, I've been to shows and stuff, but when I've had like Ivy there or Jack or Brady Phillips or anyone that like I see as a friend as well outside of wrestling, it's like it's easier to deal with because you can kind of take and stuff. But when you go into a show, which is a big show as well, TNT. And it wasn't the Ignition show, it was their main show.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a multi-man match, it was a one-on-one match. So there was like everything about it was just piling more and more pressure on it. And so by the time I got there, I was about ready to pass out. So, and I'd obviously the crowd as well, like that's a big thing for me, is not, like it's so easy to go into promotion when you've got a feel for what the crowd's going to be like. But at TNT, I know, they'll tell me, but I had no idea what to expect. I was thinking, are these people going to know who I am? Are they going to be kind of like, oh, we haven't seen him, but we know who he is? Are they just going to not have a clue and not care? Like, so it was really, it was a massive struggle. It was awful. But like, because I've experienced that now, I feel like if a new promotion came to me now and was like, oh, we want you in this tag match, like, I'd be like, oh yeah, it's fine. I won't get nervous.
Yeah.
I probably would, but not on that level.
How was the crowd? Because obviously, like, I wasn't there. I live in London, so I rarely get to go to like shows in the north, which is really upsetting because I think the north scene is absolutely buzzing at the minute. But like, how was that reaction at TNT? Did it like sort of live up to what you were hoping?
So I was nervous, and which is weird as well because like when I got there, Jay the promoter, I didn't really get time to speak to him much. Obviously, he had 2 shows, a lot of stuff going off. But I just remember, obviously because it was an open challenge, Shane Monet and Visage were doing like a bit of a promo before. And I was like, I want to do one. And I think people were a bit like, are you sure? Like, and I was like, yeah, because I feel like if there's any way I can mask people not like knowing or not really being like, oh, well, because by this point as well, we were on second to last and people had not only sat for another match, but also another full check.
Yeah.
So these people might need waking up. So I was thinking like, along the lines of, I want to, like, I know I can get myself across because I know a lot of crowds are into like the athletic side of it, but I've always said from day one, like, I don't want to be relied on for that. I know that can garner the most like attention and bookings in terms of like being impressive, but there's more to me than that. Like I have the character there. I'm starting to think it's not a character, by the way. I think it's just me, but I just, even if it's just like a couple of lines, I can get some. So I think when I went out, I didn't need to worry about it anyway. If I could have not done the promo now, I don't even think I needed it because my music here, but the video package I've got, like the MV, like it said it had a name in it. And there was quite a big reaction for it. And I was kind of like, oh. Okay, because the nerves went away, I was fine with. But when I went out, when I heard the music, because obviously with my music as well, it's got like, 20-25 seconds build before I walk out. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, okay. And then it was great. And then I went to speak when the music stopped, when I got in the ring. And then before I could even speak, I was singing my name. Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, I like this. So I was like, I like this. I don't really get this much, like, down, like, back near Sheffield area and things. So I was like, oh, this is great. So, yeah. The promo, I literally went out. I introduced myself, said about, towards the character about, like, me making it look good because it's something I live by. And then I just basically took the piss out of Visage and Shane Monet with like a one-liner, and then I feel like we had them from there. Aside from the fact that it sat there long enough, and I think by that point, I'd be a bit like, oh, but it was a match, yeah, and the crowd were into it where they needed to be, so I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, and as a debut, like Shay and Visage are like 2 great people to work with.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Shay, like me and Shay with kind of back when I came out. Was one of the few people that messaged me, and we spoke a bit and developed a friendship with him from there. And I feel like we've known each other for a while, but never seen each other in person. So when we actually meet, it was like wrestling like a good friend. Like it just put together so well. It flowed really. And it's like them people, sometimes you wrestle people and you know, it's good, it's okay, but then sometimes you wrestle people and you feel like you just move well with them and flow. I think Shea Monet was definitely one of them.
Yeah, for sure. And that's really cool to hear as well in terms of like, I'm just curious because it's like, again, as someone who doesn't wrestle, it's a bit of an alien concept to me, but in terms of when you're debuting a show and you get a really good reaction, obviously I imagine there's a part of you that's like, oh, phew, they know who I am. But is there maybe another part that's like, oh shit, they know who I am, like I've got to live up to something?
Yeah, I think massively as well. The problem I've got is because the main problem I've got is that I can say, like, I am athletic. There's a lot I can do, and I think it's like when I've trained with Brady Phillips, for example, in lockdown, we trained like once a week all the time. Some of the shit he made me do that I didn't know I could do was insane. And I feel like there's a lot more I can do, especially if I'm against the right person. If I've got who, I think we all need it, like people who do my sort of style. They'll all know what I mean. If you've got someone who's a very, very strong base, you're flying. The problem is that when I'm at, like, say, a training school, House of Pain, or you know, some of the promotions around here, the Shooting Star Pro that we've done, I don't throw away all this stuff for nothing. I keep it as because I don't want people to get used to see me do the same thing and then think, oh, like, what else can he do? So I always try and give something new, or at least up my game a bit when it matters, because I don't want to go 100 all the time, and I also don't want people to get bored. I want people to think, right, okay, well, we don't know what he's going to see, what they're going to see, sorry. So, like, I mean, it was when me and Jack wrestled Dead Sad Boys at Wrestle Carnival. Me and Jay Joshua got together before the match, and I don't know how I did it, and I don't think I'll do it again, but there was a gif going around after it of me running. I landed in the monkey flip, flipped up, and then hit the ground running. And if you asked me if I could do that before the show, I'd been like, no, like, that's not going to. But because obviously he's a very good bass as well, it worked. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that I get that in that routine of not doing so much, and especially with family crowds, relying on the character, that when big shows come calling, I'm like, right, now I need to wrestle. Like, this is where I need to whip my shit out that I know I can do, that people will, because it's like great to be funny, it's great for people to see the character and like be able to relate to you, but I also want the promoter and the people there to think, I want him back. Like, I feel like if by the end of a show people aren't at least, or haven't got anything to say about me, it was pointless.
No, sure. That's
the way I think, because I feel like I'll be that person that people are like, that kid's great, I want to see more of him. And if you don't,
yeah, absolutely. That's a great mentality to have, and like, it's really cool hearing you there, like, big up Brady as well, because Brady, I think, is someone who like had just had such a good 2022, and like, he's such a good wrestler, and I think he's probably one of the most underrated performers in the entire country. But like, as well, like, I guess it must be nice to again, like, as someone who's his friend, to see him doing so well, but also to like have him be able to sort of like guide you in that way, and sort of push you and like push your boundaries of what you even thought you were capable of.
Yeah, he does. The training we went through, there's so many videos I've got that it's like, I've used to stand there at ringside, you know, like in the training session, because I think like when Brady wanted to try something, everyone kind of just like cleared off, like we were dangerous. I don't know what they meant by that, but it'd be one of them things where she's like with a hand covering, but like looking, like just didn't want to see it. But then, because some of the stuff he made me do, but like I say, like, I always tell this story, and we go on about it a lot when we're like reminiscing about things, is that when I was in my first training school, when I first started, one of the things I struggled with the most was strikes. Like, because I did a lot of like MMA training before I started wrestling when I was younger. So if it's coming to like fighting, like, I'm fine, but wrestling's different. So I'm like, it's almost like I wouldn't want to hit people. And then I can remember Brady came in, and my trainer at the time, he hated it, but I found it. He's kind of stood there like looking, because they were doing this training in the ring or whatever, working on a variation of a move. Brady had me on the floor mats, and he literally took his shirt off, and he was like, right, hit me. And it sounds awful, but it's not. The way he taught me to strike or get me better at it, what he kept uppercutting me, and then I was giving him one back. It was like a trade-off, hitting each other over and over again, and he wouldn't stop until I at least gave him an half-decent one. Which sounds awful. It sounds like bullying, but I can assure you it wasn't. But in like looking back at it now, I could have spent 3 hours on a training session, taking my turn with people, trying to do strikes, but to stand there and have 30 seconds to a minute of just trading off before it started coming right. Okay, so this is how. Because he kept shouting at me as well. Not shouting, but he kept being like, looser. I'm like, what does that mean? What do you mean looser? Like, how do I make my arm loose? It's like, I don't know what that means. But then now it makes sense. It learned me within what I could have spent an hour and money on as well, learning a training session. I learned in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, for sure. Like, that's the thing, isn't it? I think like coming from like, again, speaking as someone who hasn't done it, but like I imagine like coming from like you said, an MMA sort of training background, the ability to have someone there who's like, don't be afraid to actually hit me, I think is quite good coming into wrestling. Because again, like wrestling, I don't know if anyone knows, but it is scripted. Like, you don't want to hurt the other person. But I think like it must be nice to like have that permission to be like, okay, yeah, like it's all right to hit me. Don't worry about not hitting me. Like trying to make it look like, or like trying to like not hurt me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the main thing for me, because I'm like naturally quite small. People just look at me and assume, oh, he can do flips. It's like, no, like if like I've always said from the start, like I want to be able to hit hard as well. Like I don't want to just someone who, oh yeah, I can do a run and then you can knock the shit out of me. Like, no, like if you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back, whether it hurts you or whatever. But I feel like it's like hitting each other properly, but and it's like that. It's the best way I learn. I feel like anybody could learn a ton from Brady Phillips. Like the amount of stuff we like. I mean, me, Jack, Ivy, Brady, Sticks. We trained together in lockdown at the House of Pain training school that Sticks runs, and I've never had, in terms of training, a better few months than I did when I was going to them training sessions, because it was like a closed session, just us, and Sticks is a great mind for wrestling as it is. Like the amount, especially with me and Jack wanting to do this tag thing, nobody really knew what it was, and at the time I had this vision of what I wanted it to be. I wanted a different dynamic, because a lot of tag teams you see, it's just like, oh, tag teams, but it's like Jack's one of the most unselfish people in wrestling, because he goes out there and literally his label is, I'm superior to this person. So, but nobody has that. Like, there's not many tag teams like that, which means even if somebody's building a tag division, the way I wanted it was, no matter how many promotions are running tag divisions, there will always be room for me and Jack, because it's not like we're a tag team that's high flying, or we're a couple of powerhouses. Like, we're so different, but our characters together and our personalities, I mean, we're best friends for a reason. Like, we just bounce off each other. I feel like we've got a very good switch between a family crowd and like, a wrestling crowd, and it works so well. But yeah, like Brady Phillips and all that training with it was probably the best training I've ever had, and still learning from Sticks now. So it's just getting better and better, to be honest.
No, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. And we can big up Jack as well for a bit more. Let's, because I had that down to ask you about Big Man Inc. I mean, like, how did it all come about? Like, how did that all come about with Jack? Like, how did it all get started? And also, like, what makes him the best possible sort of security guard for Adam Bolt? Like, what is it about him that makes him so good at his job in the ring?
So it's quite a long story, but I'm going to try and cut it short. So we was in a training school that didn't make it through lockdown, and we weren't. It was kind of like it had people in there that, the main event sort of scene was kind of not always the same, because people would step into it, but it kind of was. And like, I felt I wanted more. Like, I'm sure other people said it, like, it can be like a bubble sometimes where everyone in that bubble like believes something, but when you start to go out, you realise, hang on a minute, like there's stuff here that I need to be doing, or some stuff I shouldn't be doing. And Jack was in a tag team. He's going to hate me for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's funny. He was in a tag team called The Express, which is fine, but he was given that based on Tesco Express. Look, this take out of him, and he obviously this was like 5 years ago. So him and his tag team partner at the time, Elliot, were doing what they were doing and stuff like that. But then they were quite frustrated. And then when we started training with Sticks, we were like, I came up with the idea because I thought I knew I wanted more than just the athletic side of it. I wanted this character, and I thought it's one of the things I learned from Ivy, like, which sounds like, I don't know if she thinks I'm insulting her when I say this, but Lizzie Ever was a good example as well. Like, if I watch Ivy or Lizzie ever in a ring, I can believe that they are the most awful people in real life. Like, I can imagine they are disgusting people, like the absolute worst. And then when you meet them, they're really not. And for me to be involved in wrestling and still be under that illusion that these people are real, because like we're in a situation now where if people don't believe what's going off in the ring is real, that's fine, but I'll make you believe I am. So I wanted my character to be me, just something about me turned up to 100. And there was little things about me, like I always, because you don't get it a lot in wrestling as well, which sounds a bit weird, but the majority of people, you know, they like a similar sort of style music or whatever. I'm not like that. I'm like them people that most wrestling fans would hate. Like, type of person that always wants to like look good or like make sure his hair's done. Like, I do it in a match, I'll sit up for the move and I'll be like it. Like, I'm that sort of person. The sort of like, even I make myself cringe. Like, some people that will be like, ugh. So I thought, if I can turn that up to 100 and be this, it's almost like kind of where the Miz is with his character, like just kind of like the only difference is he actually is a celebrity. I just think I am. So that's where I wanted to go. And I just thought if I can have security guards, it just makes it worse, doesn't it? Like if you wanted to punch me before, like especially the two security guards who were the similar height and similar size to me, it's like, come on.
Like it gives me very like Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash vibes. You know what I mean? Like you're Shawn, who's like the pretty boy and really cared about like how he looks and doesn't want to get messed up and anything, and then Jack comes in and just does all the hard work because of it.
Yeah, that is pretty much it. So, and then the amount of hours we must spend driving from say, like near Doncaster, Chesterfield area to Nottingham, training back and forth, talking about this and saying we're going to do it, I'm going to do it. It's kind of really good. Like sometimes you don't always stop to appreciate where you are. You always focus on where you're going, and in that time, Big Man Inc. wasn't a thing. Styx gave us the name Big Man Inc. because he was taking a piss. He was like, oh, it's big. I was like, that's the one. Like, I'm taking that. And we kept that. And then Elliot eventually he had other stuff going on outside of wrestling. He kind of like lost his interest in it a bit. He doesn't wrestle anymore. But me and Jack carried on with it. And then because of that, me and Jack at the time as well became like, we were good friends anyway, but we became like really good friends. Like now if there's anything going off in my personal life, Jack's the one to tell, and it's the same the other way. So it makes that bond better. It's like if you were to wrestle with like a brother, like it's naturally that chemistry's there. Like it's there in our friendship, it's there in the ring, it's there in the way we banter each other. Well, I mean, he thinks I'm bantering, I'm not, I'm being serious, but like it's just always there. Like we're like class clowns almost like backstage. Like with that, the two kids in the corner that are just like messing about. You can't have serious conversation with them. Like that's very much us, and that's where it came from. But like Jack as well, like because on the outside the gimmick is very much like he's inferior almost. He's looking out for me. It's the amount of stuff we put together and like how much Jack has an input on a lot of stuff we do as well. Like it's incredible. And the best thing is like because like sometimes it wouldn't always fit the mold for a tag team partner to debut somewhere and take their tag team partner to be ringside. A lot of promoters wouldn't want that, but because this works in singles competition or in tag team, even if it was Jack wrestling and I'm ringside, it's like he's wrestling for me. If I'm wrestling, he's there to make sure I'm okay. So it works no matter what. So like if I debut somewhere, I can take Jack with me as providing it's okay and have him ringside because it makes sense to do it. And the crowd, I guarantee it, not on that show, are going to see dynamic anywhere else, and it's something they'll remember. Which goes back to that point of I want people to remember me in some form or shape or form when they leave that show, whether that's for character, ability, just bringing something different. So I try and like focus on all areas at once to try and cover it. It's like this all-rounder thing, which is very weird because you mentioned Shawn Michaels, because that he's the reason why I wanted to start wrestling in the first place. He was my favourite wrestler as a kid. And the reason he gets so much credit now is they always say in WWE he's like one of the greatest all-rounders there is because he could do everything. Yeah. And it's selfish to say it, but that's what I want. I want to be able to do everything, which is stupid, but...
No, I don't think that's selfish to say at all, though. Like, I think that's the thing. I think, like, it's good to have that ambition, right? Because, like, again, like, the thing is like, no one else can be Shawn Michaels, right? But that doesn't mean you can't aspire to like go for like the mindset that he had, or like, you know, the moveset that he had, and do what he was able to do.
Yeah.
So that's cool. No, I respect that. And like going back to what you said about like Ivy and Lizzie as well, like we've had them both on the podcast as well, and like I think they're both so good, and like loads of others on the scene as well. But like I think they're, like you said, both so good just because we've had them both on the podcast, and you, like you say, you talk to them and they're lovely. They're so down to earth. They're really humble. Like they're brilliant. And even after talking to them, you can still see them in the ring and they act the way they do, and you're still like, oh, what a piece of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're still like, what a dick.
We were at the TV tapings for Trip the other week, and me and Jack had our match, and then we sat and watched Ivy have hers, and she was vile. Like, there was this woman on the front row that had, like, had a bit too much to drink and whatever, and she was awful to her. At one point, she threw, I think it was Rebecca Resner she was against, she threw her outside, and she was just, you know, when Ivy shouts, like, you can hear it before you can see it.
You can hear it in the next town, yeah, like.
Yeah, saying that, but she knows it's true. So, and it's like, me and Jack were sat there, and I was like, she's awful, like, why am I friends with her? But then, like, when it's like, it still gets you into that illusion, so I feel like in a world where, like, you know, people might see you do something in the ring and think, oh yeah, like, it's not real. It's like, I can very much believe a lot of people on British wrestling are the people they are portrayed in the ring, because there's some people that are hilarious, there's some people that are absolute arseholes, and then there's some people that you just feel like you can connect with because they're either exactly like you, or you hate them because they're the opposite.
Yeah.
But it's very...
No, for sure. And that's, you've sort of segued me perfectly into our first little feature here, because you're sort of giving out like praise and compliments and like a couple of insults there to people. And our first segment is called Dishing the Dirt, and this is where I'm going to ask you to dish some dirt on the people you share the locker room with.
Oh, so, don't say that, 'cause all day.
No, well, it's fine. There's only a few, and I'm going to give you I'll give you the topics, and you let me know who comes to mind from the locker room when I say them. All right?
Okay.
All right.
As well,
so yeah, like you can be part of it as well. Like if you think the answer is you, then it's you. But like, so to be honest, only a few of them only like 2 or 3 of them are like dirt dishing. The others are quite positive ones. So
that's
like,
fine. I'm being put in this position, so they can't hate me.
Yeah. Everyone will be put in the position when they come on. That's the thing. So everyone will get subjected to it. The first one is who's always the one running late?
Right. Now this is already a problem, right? Because Ivy will say to the end of the earth that it is me, and between me, Jack, and Ivy always blame each other. They say it's me. I like to think I'm on time, but we always have this same meeting point we meet at when we go somewhere to get in one car. I can guarantee me and Jack will be there, and Ivy's got stuck in traffic. She's behind a slow driver. These road works, and she's going to be watching this, and she's going to think, you hypocrite, and I know she will. But I'm going to say Ivy because I just am.
No, that's fine. I'm sure she'll appreciate it.
It's definitely true, whether she likes it or not. But yeah,
love it. We're back to a positive after that though. It's like who's the comedian of the locker room? Who makes you laugh the most?
Jack. Yeah, absolutely. Not in it's going back to insulting him, and I don't mean to. I kind of do, but it's not even because he tries to be funny. He's just an absolute idiot. Like he's so. He literally is as well. Like he's so stupid, it's unreal.
Oh, but you gotta love him.
It's just because he said something that's just ridiculous, or he doesn't understand something. It's just like, oh. Sure.
No, I get you. You gotta love him though. You gotta love him. It's great.
Yeah. I suppose that's what makes me tolerate him.
Brilliant. The next one. This is one of the 2 that I say will probably get you like real life heat, depending on what the answer is.
I'm excited.
Who's got the worst music taste?
Everyone except me.
Yeah.
And I mean that because, like I say, like wrestling, like a lot of people, you know, they like the bands and stuff. Like I got dragged, and I say dragged to what Six the other week in Manchester, right? And no disrespect to you, Meat Six, I like them, like for a band, because I'm not really a band sort of person. But they're alright. But if I could have been anywhere else on earth other than that venue, I would have been. Like, not a bit of me. Like, everyone's so close to me, feeling dirty. I'm like, I don't like it. So I think everyone other than me, so if everyone in wrestling hates me for saying that, obviously I'm wrong, and I definitely am, because nobody really knows my face, but that's what I'm going with.
No, that's fine. I mean, like, you know, I can't tolerate the Yumi at 6 hate, because I think I quite like Yumi at 6, especially their old stuff. Their new stuff not as much, but
I just didn't want to be there. I think it's more the environment of and other people. If it was me sat on a chair watching Yumi at 6, I'd be fine.
Sure. I get that. Like, gigs aren't everyone's cup of tea, you know what I mean? Like, it is quite an enclosed environment. You got a lot of people like sweating on you and stuff. It's like, it's not always the best thing. No, I get that. The next one is who takes the longest to get ready?
Oh, that's me. Like, it should be me, but it is me. Like, and I would like to say, oh well, it must be like, you know, one of the girls, but it's not. Definitely.
Why does it take you so long?
In terms of like being backstage and getting ready, it doesn't. But in terms of like a full day, it does. Like, I'm about to walk out there looking like a strobe light, so I've obviously doing tan all the time, and then, like I say, my hair, I get that sorted out. I think going to a wrestling show is like a fashion show as well, so I'll get a decent outfit to wear to the show, and then obviously I've got to get my wrestling stuff ready as well, and then so I think it would probably be me. I think everyone shoves the stuff in face and leaves. Like, that's not me.
No, sure. Well, if I'm honest, you're segueing me beautifully into like other topics here, because the next one, you say you take a while to get ready to look good. The next one, I'm talking out the ring here. This isn't kayfabe now. This is after you guys have. This is after you've left the show.
Yeah.
Who has the worst dress sense?
Worst dress sense?
Yeah, like who walks in and you're like, what the fuck are you wearing?
It sounds quite a lot of people. Well, that's because like I wouldn't dress as well. Just like looking at my brother all the time. Like, I feel like it's just British wrestling is like an extravagant funeral, isn't it? Like, everyone's black, and then I'm just stood there like in like colour or something. Like, I don't. Do you know what? I'm not just saying this. I don't think there's anybody that I look at and think, I mean, that's a lie. There's a lot of people, but I think for the dress sense and stuff, I don't think anybody I look at and think, oh no, because no, I don't think there is, and I don't think anyone in my like close circle dresses terribly either. Which I love saying that because I've not insulted them for the first time.
No, that's good. Yeah. That's a positive one. That's a thumbs up for everyone. Well, there's going to be another thumbs up here, because it is sort of like the positive end of what we've just talked about. In the ring now, if you had to, again, we're not talking just after they've used it, but if you had to borrow someone's gear for a show, whose do you look at and you're like, I could pull that off. I like that. Like, that looks good.
Oh, well, not Jack's, because I ain't about to be anyone secure. But who has nice gear? See, this goes back. This is where I'm coming across like I'm always in character, because I think like my gear's stunning. Like, I've got so much like new gear made. Like, it's amazing, and I get it made because I go to the fabric shop myself, so I pick out what I want.
There's got to be someone. I mean, obviously you're the best dressed. Obviously, like, we're not even discussing that, but there's got to be someone who's like second, whose clothing you could like tolerate. You could be like, you know, I could handle that for a show.
I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, but I will say, if it's shiny, it stands out, and it actually fits me, which is probably not rare because I'm about 5 foot nothing, and you know. But then anyone who's got shiny, or anything that just looks a bit more flamboyant in a way. I hate that word, but it kind of. But there's not many people that do a lot of the time. It's especially when it comes to like male performers. Not a lot of them have them. You
need a sort of like a trunks version of what like Alexis Falcon wears or something.
Yeah, something like that. That's basically what I am. Like, I basically just get this like this material from like say like Falcon, and I just make it into a pair of shorts like me and shove them on.
And soon you'll be siding with Charles Crowley as well.
Oh God, no! I couldn't do it as good as them two. No.
You don't want to get that close to him either, to be honest. Like...
No. And do you know what? Right, it's a good job he says the stuff about himself, what he does, because obviously it means he's not going to get offended when anyone else says it anyway. Like, I watch him and I think he's great. Like, I love everything he does, but I feel like he's one of the few people that I wouldn't say anything about, because I feel like he's very much like me in the sense that he's very witty. Like, you watch Charles Crowley get into a Twitter spat with anyone, he wins all the time, because he just never stops, and that's what I'm like. Like, I will go to the grave before I let anyone have the last word over me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just don't pick a war of words with you or Crowley, because you won't win it. You won't win it.
No, I just give up. I just like, do you know what? Take it, whatever.
Nice. The next one is who brings like the best food or snacks to your show?
Ooh. Now, I don't think any of us like bring snacks. We always go to the shop if there is one. But I would say Jack, because Jack knows what I like. And if he does fetch, like sometimes I'll just need a bit of sugar and I'll just want like a Coke or something. And he'll be there first and he'll have gone through drive-through and I'll just have a large Coke sat there for me and I'm just like, this is what I need.
He knows you well. Yeah.
But that's on the basis, again, not complimenting Jack because he doesn't exactly bring the snacks. He could do a better job at that, actually. Just for when he does listen to this, he could do a better job bringing food. But nobody really does it, so it's kind of like process of elimination. Jack's the only one that does. Because everyone else, like Sarah from House of Pain, ringing out, so eats seaweed. So of that, so it's kind of like, yeah, I'll stick with my large Coke and any chicken nuggets.
Yeah, just leave it, thanks.
Yeah.
No, I get it. The next one is, I always say it's sort of counterproductive to ask a room full of wrestlers, but who's the most competitive?
Oh, that's got to be Brady.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, but I don't know when to stop with him either, so it's kind of like, but I feel like he's the type that will get violent over being competitive, so that's where we did. We went on holiday with each other to Alicante in the summer, and we did this thing where, because obviously it was a bit like we were in like a residential area, not like it wasn't like a party place or anything like that. We had this square pool and we had like 4 floats, like animal floats, and we started doing this thing where we all started on one and we just had to push each other off.
Right.
And the last one's, and I don't think, like, do you know when I say push, I mean just like a tip. Oh no, he's like full on bicep under it, flip you over. Like, so he's very competitive though. And we sat there on a night as well playing Uno. Like, I liked Uno before I went on that holiday, but now, like, it was just constant torture. And I feel like we were supposed to be enjoying ourselves, and most of the time we went to bed angry because I'm just like, I can't deal with it. So yeah, I'd say Brady.
Oh, Brady, you gotta calm it down with the Uno.
As well, she'd be looking at him like, yeah, you, because she thinks the same.
Love it. Love those revelations. Love it. Never get Uno out in front of Brady Phillips.
No, that is actually something anyone should take away from this. If Brady Phillips ever in a locker room or anywhere and he asks you to play Uno, say no, because your health isn't worth it.
Save yourself.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, we speak about it's again nicely segued. You speak about sort of like nights out and parties and things like that, and hanging out with Brady and Ivy and all that. But like, who would throw? That's the next one on this list. Who would throw the best party? Who in the locker room do you think would throw a party worthy of Adam Bolt going to?
Ooh, I feel like I can judge that from someone's personality or even their entrance music. Like, my entrance music is like it's a bop. I'm not gonna lie, but I feel like I don't know. My mind's going blank with people. I'm trying to think, like, in a locker room, like, who, if they said they're having a party, would I be excited to go to? I feel like it might actually be Alexis Falcon, you know, because aside from the people that I've spoke about enough, like, I'll give too much credit to them. They can go away now. So I feel like Alexis is she's hilarious. Like, she makes, like, from when I wrestled her Spirit last year, like, we talk now and I take the piss out of myself for some of the stuff I did in the match, because the match was great, by the way, but like, there's just little things that I see myself doing. I'm like, what am I doing? But she's just very fun, and I feel like outside of wrestling situation, I feel like she's the kind of person that, like, when you end up belly laughing, then you add things in, it makes it worse or better. And I feel like it would be Alexis. So it's just the first person that comes to mind without me thinking about anybody else. So I feel like it probably would be.
No, I think she would be. I think she would. I agree with you. I think she seems like she'd throw a good party. Probably Disney themed though. Most likely Disney themed, but.
Well, you know, like, I've done Disney before, so. Although I'm not sure what outfits I'd pull out. I'd have to, like...
There's plenty of good outfits in the Disney repertoire, to be fair. Like, plenty you can pull out.
Yeah, so I feel like that'd be a good shout, actually.
Nice.
Might actually if I can get that going.
Like it. Well, the final one, actually, I mean, we ask it to everyone, but for you it seems fairly obvious. It could be a huge betrayal if you don't say who I expect you to say. But it's, who would you expect to have your back in the zombie apocalypse?
Now, you'd think I would say Jack.
Yeah.
Would I want to have my back? Probably would Jack. Who would I expect? Not Jack.
Yeah.
Anybody, because Jack would be the type where he'd, like, probably push me over and run, because that's what I him. Like, I would feed Jack to them and then I'd be off. And I don't trust that Jack would actually look out for me. Like, so, I don't know. I feel like probably Brady, because although I don't think for 1 minute he'd stand there and look out for me either, I don't think any of us would. We don't even sound like friends, do we, actually? Like, we all sound like we hate each other.
It's the zombie apocalypse, right? It's everyone for themselves, you know?
Yeah, so I feel like if all of them were going to stand there and say, I've got your back, it would obviously be Brady, because I feel, Ivy, she's got a bat. I mean, she's the only one that comes, like, she's like a double package with a weapon. So,
yeah, knocking heads off right and left.
Yeah, like, we all know you got to go for the head, right? So, like, she's got the bat. Like,
and you got the advantage, don't you? Because you got, like, the length advantage there, where you could, like, they don't even need to be right next to you.
Exactly. That's a good, yeah, big idea, like, sorry, Brady, but I think Ivy, because she's got a temper on as well.
Yeah.
So.
She'll shout and they'll all go flying backwards. It'd be like a yell, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The sound waves will just carry them over.
Yeah, see, I'm just going to, like, agree, because, like, I feel like I've been bad enough. So, you saying that, I do agree, but you said it.
Yeah, no, I said it, that's fine. That's fine. Ivy, I love you really. You're brilliant. You're fantastic. Please do not hurt me.
It's literally what I mean.
Yeah, just I'll cower in the corner, be like, no, please.
Yes.
Brilliant. Well, that was a lot of fun. We got another couple of features coming up later in the podcast. But I wanted to get into something that we talked about, like a fair bit in DMs before this. And it's something that I think isn't talked about enough, and it is the LGBTQ scene in British wrestling. We've had a few people on who have said it has got better. And I think as an outsider, it seems like it's got better in terms of inclusivity, in terms of the amount of LGBTQ people that you see in the ring. It seems like it's got better. But something you picked up on earlier about like your sort of gimmick and how that's, you know, sort of you see it more as you now. But also something we talked about in DMs was the fact that you were sort of quite adamant that, like, when you came out, you didn't want that to be your gimmick. You didn't want people to be like... Because we've had people like... when we first started, we had Cassius on. And he was very much about the fact that, you know, when he and a lot of others started wrestling, it was like, you're the token gay person, right, on the show. And that's how you're seen. That's your character. When it came to coming out and announcing that to sort of, like, you know, the British wrestling community, like fans and fellow wrestlers... Was that a concern? Was it a concern beforehand that if you came out, that it would then just become a gimmick that people saw you as?
I was more concerned in the sense of people treating me differently. The wrestling aspect of it never really affected me much, because when I told everybody, I seemed to change very quick. And when I told the people around me, like, the first people I told, I said this in other podcasts, were Brady and Ivy. And then I told Jack. And then, like, obviously a few close people, just let them figure it out. But I was never... I knew nothing was going to change with me. It wasn't like I wanted to do this, like, extrally flamboyant character once people knew or anything was going to change. It's like... I kind of wanted a role reversal. I wanted people to know, and then not treat me different. So it's like, right, you know this now. Then the only reason I wanted them to know, it wasn't to benefit me or anything like that. At first, when I didn't understand the importance of representing and all that lot, it was purely just because I felt it in the ring. Like, when I was doing things around these people that I was getting close with, because even though what I was hiding made no difference whatsoever, because I knew I was hiding something, I was never myself in front of them. Like, I feel like they would agree in terms of, like, the person I am now and, like, my sense of humor and everything like that. It's just like, it's like the reins are off with it. Like, I'm just very much me all the time. Whereas before, I'd kind of be a bit reserved because I won't want people to think this or think that. So the wrestling aspect never concerned me at first. It was more at first just like, I'm fed up with it, because I've said it before, when I told my family I had to because of somebody else, and then when I told my close friends outside of wrestling I had to, and then just when I think everyone knew, that was around the time I started training. So before I knew it, I was hiding it again. So it's like, it was constantly a double life for a long time. So I feel when I came out at first, I wasn't so much worried. I was just kind of relieved because it was like people I would call in like really good friends, and it didn't make no difference to them. But I just felt like I'm hiding it from them, and I don't need to.
Yeah. Sorry, when you say like with your family stuff, when you say you had to come out, that like, do you mean like you were in a position where you were like sort of made to, or like as in your own mind, were you like now I have to?
No, it was very much I had to. So I was in a situation where when I was figuring out who I was and things like that, I confided in another person who was gay, and we went to a family party, and I just went, like, my family didn't think nothing of it, it's just a friend. We went to a family party, and he was just one of them people that when they got drunk, they were awful, like volatile with the mouth. And he said something about me to my auntie, and at the time, my auntie, who knew, didn't get on so much with like my mum and that side, and I thought, this is not what I need, because if my mum and that find out from them, which I did not doubt they would not do at the time, not because they would, but because I thought that, or you know, if they've got problems anyway. So I thought I don't resent it too much, because it's like, when are you ever ready? Which sounds stupid, because a lot of people, you know, it's one of them things where I don't think you're 100% truly ready. I think just want to get the courage and you do it. So that's why I had to tell them. I mean, it doesn't make a difference, because no one's ever had a bad reaction or anything other, like not even a good reaction. Like, people haven't exactly thrown my arms behind it, been like, congratulations, let's throw a party. They've just been like, okay, so what?
And that's what you want, isn't it? Like, that's the thing. That's the best reaction you can have to that sort of thing.
Yeah, literally. Like it's like when I told Brady and Ivy, it was literally like, right, okay. And then we were watching wrestling 10 minutes later and just talking about other stuff, and it was nothing. Yeah. Which is I wanted from it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I was going to lead on to. You say it's like it's been positive, and that's great. So like a year and a half on now from you posting that on like social media and announcing that sort of like publicly, has it been the right call in your mind? Like, are you glad it's been done? Has it? Because I know in other podcasts you've talked about like how it's sort of like a weight lifted from your shoulders. Are you sort of looking back on it now? Are you like, yes, this was the right call and the right time?
Yeah. So there's a part of me recently when I put out a tweet that did kind of say that I wish I'd not. Generally speaking, for me professionally, best thing I've ever done, because the Adam Ball I am now compared to back then, completely different. I feel like I'm a lot better in terms of like, because I'm more there, like more present, because I'm not thinking about that. So I feel like there's a lot of growing up I've done. So I feel like it's made my character, my ring ability, like just what I do in a ring, and I feel like it's just made it all better. There was a part of me that said something recently about not wishing I didn't, and this sounds, it doesn't sound awful actually, because it's true, because I've spoken to people about it, and like, not to name drop or anything, but there is I feel like, and I know a lot of the members of the community will know exactly what I mean, but I feel like for people not in it, it's easy to think there's this illusion with like that we're all get on and we all support each other no matter what. The fact is, and the brutal honesty of it is that with the speaking out movement, if let's just, for example, if a straight male was doing unnecessary, inappropriate things to a female, they would be cancelled straight away. I can't tell you the amount of times I've had, whether it's wrestlers themselves or people involved in it, be away with me that would have got them cancelled, but it seemed, I don't know where it's come from, but it seems to be acceptable because they're gay. And I don't understand that.
Like, it's not taken as seriously.
Yeah, like, it's kind of like I said, like, it's things like this hasn't happened to me. I'm not going to say what has and what hasn't, but for example, if you was to just go on to talk to a girl who was not interested at all and just send them a nude, that is the sort of stuff that would get them cancelled. If you followed around a show or like tried like saying inappropriate stuff to them, again, like, it's something that people would get on at you for. But I feel like there's a lot of people that get to fly under the radar because they're in this community. it's like I always say, like, sorry to break it to them, right, and sorry to be real, but wrestling isn't live action Grinder. Like, I'm not your prey and you're not a predator. Like, you don't just get to think, oh, it's not. I'm not a Pokemon. Like, oh, I'll choose you. Like, no, get away from me. Like, if I make it clear, I'm not interested in any sense of the word. Like, because I do have, like, have had and do have relationships outside of wrestling that I need to think about as well. Like, I don't. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm here for wrestling. Like, if I get on friends, that's great, but I will make that decision whether you're somebody that I want to be friends with. Like, and I'm not gonna. I've never have and never will start a friendship based on a creepy DM or saying something inappropriate to me or about me to somebody else. I just think far too much. I think, like, some people need to be a bit more mindful of it, and also people that it does happen to do need to start, and me myself included, do need to start speaking out when we see it. Not necessarily going on Twitter and getting pitchforks out, but maybe just saying, like, look, this happens again, like, I'm gonna kind of escalate it, because it's like, if it's happening to me, for example, or if it has happened to me, I guarantee there's people that I've seen it, but they kind of just brush it off. Like, I'm very much like, I just brush things off. I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. But and then I see, actually, just because I can brush it off and I don't care doesn't mean somebody else won't. And if me will stop them doing it again, I could be saving somebody who it will affect.
Yeah.
So,
no, for sure. And like as someone listening to that who's just a fan, it's like, it hurts me to know that, like, you and other people have been through that. Sort of like the same with speaking out. Like, that was heartbreaking to hear all those stories, and like, I think, again, like, I can't imagine how it feels as someone who's involved in it, but as a fan, it hurt to know that so many people for so long didn't want to speak up because of, like, fear of repercussion, or just simply fear that nothing would happen. And that seems to be sort of like what a little bit of what you're saying as well, in terms of, like, you know, you haven't spoken out because, like, it just doesn't seem like anything will change because of it.
Yeah, that's why I haven't. Honestly, there's a couple of things. Like, don't get me wrong, there's nothing major, but there's a couple of that I could be open about that I know would get certain people in a position where people have a change of opinion on them very quick. But I'm not necessarily somebody who worries about anything like that, because I don't really care. But when I think about it, one of the main reasons I didn't want to say anything is because I try and carry myself on my socials and stuff like it is a business page. Like, I ain't about to share stuff like that on Twitter. Like, it's like when I see stuff like that and I agree with stuff, it's rare I like it or anything, because I don't get involved in stuff like that. I try and keep it purely for what it is. But it's like, I did worry that if I ever did say anything, because, say, for example, just hypothetically speaking, if that person is further on in, which is some of the worries we saw in speaking out, a lot of people didn't speak out because of who that person was, and then the effect it'll have on them, because if they're, let's say, like a trainee level, and this person's like somebody who's a bit everywhere and everybody at least knows who they are, it's like you wouldn't want, it is worrying. Like, you kind of feel like you don't want to be cancelled for what someone else has done, but just because people like that person. Yeah. So it's kind of a bit like that. Like, luckily, nothing like that happens to me anymore. Like, it was just odd occurrences when people started finding out it was like I was like a bit of fresh meat thrown into like a pit of lions. Like,
yeah, like now that he's come out, it's okay, sort of thing.
Yeah, and then I'm just like, one thing you need to know about me, like I've always said, like, not all gay, bisexual people, whatever, are the same. I'm very different. I will not tolerate shit like that. I don't get me wrong, if somebody just wanted to talk to me, wanted to try the look and spoke to me, and I made it clear I wasn't interested, and it was like, oh, fair enough, that's fine, but don't be a creep, because, like, I don't deal with stuff like that. I don't do it outside of wrestling. Like I've never been the type of person when I was thinking, like, oh, I don't know if I like boys or girls, whatever. Like, back when I was younger, I was never the type of person to be like some people are, which isn't a bad thing. Like, always on grind and stuff like that. Like, that side of, like, the gay culture, I hate. Not hating to have a problem with it, but it's just a lot of the stigmas and associations that come with it. Like, I'm not like that. So when people try and act like that or force that upon me, as if, like, that's what I would be like or I'd be interested in it, I'm just like, no.
No. Yeah, no, yeah, I get that. I understand that. And, like, again, like, through speaking out and things like that as well, like, you've seen, like you say, people who who didn't want to speak up because, like, again, like, you're like, oh, what I want to do is wrestle. Will this harm me as a wrestler? Will this harm my career? Rather than doing the opposite of what's intended. And, like, I can't even imagine, like, how that must feel, that sort of conflict.
Yeah, because there's some people as well, like, I mean, I've seen it happen a few times. There's some people, like, if it's not, like, because there was a time where some people were saying, well, we need proof of, like, whatever, like, as someone who's just literally experienced stuff that's not great and stuff that's made them feel a certain way that you can't prove, like, that's awful to say to them. It's like, prove what?
Yeah.
So it's like, there's that worry where sometimes even just being involved in any kind of drama can make some people be like, oh, it's like when you're at work in any other job, if, like, managers or whatever, or whoever it is, may think less of people because they're involved in drama, not necessarily because she was right or wrong. So that's why I try and keep my side of it on social media just strictly not involved in it. Like, don't get me wrong, with certain situations when me and friends have a talk in car journeys and stuff like that, we'll say our opinions and stuff, but I'm not that sort of person that'll go out and give these, like, completely erratic, or whether it's like majority agree opinions on Twitter. Like, I just, like, some people are. It's great. I mean, it's like them. It's just what people are like. People like to be outspoken on social media. I just don't. So
yeah, like, if it's something important, you can message someone privately, can't you? You don't necessarily need it on your social media.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, if there's ever a situation where I was like for example, the reason for the tweet, if there's ever a situation where it's becoming, right, okay, this isn't like about one person where I can just speak to them and have an issue anymore. This is, because I'm noticing it more regularly, this is clearly like a group thing, what people need to be aware of. So it's kind of like the Cinderella thing, if the shoe fits. I put that out there and you think, oh, well, that must be about me. If you think it's about you, it probably is, because you're part of the problem, so stop doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, perfectly so.
That's the way of coming to you and saying stop doing it.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
No one's been like it since. So.
Absolutely. Well, that's good. And, like, that's well said. No, I respect that. And so in that regard, like, I think it's kind of based on what we've talked about, I think it's kind of a tough question, but, like, has this LGBTQ scene in British wrestling improved? Like, overall, in terms of, like, how the fans treat people and, like, the bookings that people get, and, like, not just as, like, those gimmick characters, you know what I mean? It's like just people being booked because they're good wrestlers, regardless of that. Like, has the scene improved? Has there been sort of less of a stigma around things generally? Or would you say it's, like, because of all the stuff we talked about, would you say it's still, like, 50-50 on whether there's actually been improvement?
Yeah, I think the part of what I was talking about then was mainly it, like, just people basically using the profession as a way to express their personal feelings. When we talk about strictly profession and, like, the business aspect of it, I do think it has got a lot better. I do. I mean, because it's kind of like, so this is what people conflicts between with the whole thing, is like it's like you want to be booked for your wrestling and stuff like that, and nothing. Like, the whole point of this is, like, it's like I've always said, like, you want change, you can't have change without a movement first. Like, there needs to be a great change, and a lot of people see that as, like, people are shoving it down the throat or whatever, that, oh, look at me, I'm gay. Like, it's not. And the reason I say that is because it's like anything, when anything's changed in the past, like, even through lockdown, you had, like, the Black Lives Matter thing. Like, it was never about people being like, well, we're more important than you. It was about creating a movement to make change where like they say, like, people say to me all the time, like, I think TNT shared the thing about the Liverpool Echo that did the article on a few of us at TNT doing interviews about what it's like, the same question you've asked. And people comment on it, and some people, like, it shouldn't matter whether they're gay or not. And it's like, voting us, but we're sat here, like, exactly. This is why we're doing it, because right now it does matter, but it shouldn't. Like, we're doing it, so in the future, like, it's like just going back, like, 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever, watching wrestling, gay characters were treated as a joke. If they were, it was very few far in between. Like, you could relate to people professionally, like I did, Shawn Michaels. Oh, I want to be like Shawn Michaels. But if I'm thinking personally, I want to connect with someone, or there's someone that I need to, like, help me want to get into it, if I'm a kid, like, hypothetically, if I'm a kid that's already knows, you know, like, I'm, say, gay, or I'm camp, or whatever it is I might have been, let's say that is me, like, there wasn't anybody to relate to.
Yeah.
So it's like, kind of it's not about shoving it down your throat about us, because I don't do it for me. I do it for the next kid in the audience that needs me. Like, I probably could have done with someone back then. It's just going chain. Like, I'm doing it so people, because it's like when people think, like, you know, see someone who's gay or like a group of people that are gay, it's like, oh, it's fine. But it's like, no, there's a ton of diversity within a certain community. Diversity isn't just different communities. Like, it's the same with the wrestling show. Like you said, like having somebody who's like the gay performer or anything like that just like indicates like it's great to have that, don't get me wrong, but booking them because they are the gay performer, it's kind of like representing, well, this is what the gay thing is. It's like, no, the pride shows that I've seen done, like, there's so much diversity amongst just LGBT performers, because you have people that are flamboyant, you have people that are trans, you have people that do drag, you have people that are more subtle and like, you know, just get about the business. You have people who are just obnoxious people who come across like arseholes, like me. Like, there's not, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of diversity within that, and it's not being shoved down anyone's throats. It's just creating the movement, so it makes it a lot easier for people. So in the future, people don't have to do the things like come out. Like, I honestly think, like, hopefully in the future, coming out will never be a thing. It can be a self, like, okay, whatever, and you just do it and nobody questions it, or like it has to be a revelation, because like it has to be now, because we're the ones that are trying to make the change.
No, exactly. It should be the case where in the future, like you say, like anyone coming out, anyone at all in the world coming out because they want to come out, should be met with like you said with Ivy and Bread, like just like, oh cool, and then you move on. Like, it doesn't need to be a thing.
To go back to your question about like wrestling, I think it is a lot better now. I think because we're not getting people booked on a show because they're gay, so it's just like, oh, we're best include them because, you know, they might do something if we don't, or people might have something to say. It's like don't get me wrong, we still do it, but it's hard because it's in the transition period now. Whether that transition period lasts 10 years, 20 years, whatever, it is in a transition period where we have to try and create a movement to make change, which kind of, to some people who don't understand, can look hypocritical that we're saying we don't want to be recognised for being gay, but then I'm answering a gay open challenge at TNT. So it's kind of like, I get that, but that's not because I want eyes to be on me for my sexuality. That's because, like, we're trying to show you that we're two performers in this community. We can wrestle, we can put on a good match, but we're also very different, which just people's eyes up to what an understanding of any kind of community is, rather than be like tunnel vision to, oh yeah, that's what they all are. Like, oh, if they're in gay community, they probably dress feminine. Like, not everyone's like that. Nothing wrong with people who do either. Like, everyone's different. So I get why some people who aren't educated about it would think it's hypocritical or have that opinion of like, oh, well, it shouldn't matter. But we're not sat here arguing with you. We agree it shouldn't matter, which is like...
No, I agree. No, well said. And I appreciate you being so like open and honest with me about it. I really appreciate that. What about then talking about this coming year? Like, if we were sitting here, we mentioned like a few places that you're wrestling already and debuts you've made, but if we were sat here talking this time next year, and I said, had it been a good 2023, what would constitute that for Adam Bolt? What would constitute a successful year in wrestling?
I think, for me, if I think about it properly, what I would want, I just want people to be talking about me. That's all. I want people to, like, I just want people to see me as like, it's like we've seen a lot of people go through it, and like I've been talked about here and there, but I feel like there's always like somebody who's up and coming and people are getting really behind, because like right now I honestly think it's Leon Slater.
Yeah, for sure.
Slater, he was literally it was just doing the same as everyone else. He's had a few opportunities and stuff, and he's proven himself and he's shown himself, and now everyone sees what a lot of us have seen for years when we've been with him, how good he is. So, and I feel like I want that, and part of me gets frustrated about myself, because I think sometimes, you know what, if I just went out there all guns blazing every time and did all the athletic stuff I could, then that's great. Like, that might get me that like kind of push that I need for people to be like, oh, he's really good. But then it's also a sense of staying true to myself, because it's all right me getting that attention and that, but then in reality, when I get put on a show with people who also do that, then when do I stand out? Like, what about me stands out then to say I'm better? Like, I want to be able to put on a good match, be athletic, talk on a microphone, have the look, I want to work on it all. So when that more people if they do decide to get behind me and be like, look, this kid's got something, they'll have more to see than just me doing what I do in a ring.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people do that, like, you know, like people like Leon, they have a lot more to them than what they do in the ring. I just want it to be more, for me, I just want my stuff to be seen more as much as what I do in the ring.
Yeah.
Like, the all aspects of it.
No, for sure. And like, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, so much, and like, not just in wrestling, but in other careers as well, like, so much of it is just like being in the right place at the right time, right? So much of it has been like, Leon, fantastic talent, amazing. No one is like Leon Slater, and that's the thing. He's had an absolutely brilliant year. But like, as well as being completely brilliant in the ring, he was in the right place at the right time and got that push. And that's the thing, isn't it? There's so much talent in the country at the minute, like yourself included, loads of others, but like, there's so much talent that not everyone can be in the right place at the right time. And I think that's what's so, like, so tough. And, like, I imagine it's tough for you, like, also in terms of being there, like, you know, being a wrestler. Because, like, you see it as a fan, you're like, oh, there are, like, 10, 20 wrestlers I could name you now, like, who I'm like, if they got the right push, if they got the right moment, they'd be huge. Yeah. Like Leon. But, like, not everyone can get that.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that must be, like, I imagine that must be, like, the tricky thing, right? Like, not just for yourself, but for others as well. Like, it's like, can I be in the right place at the right time to get this? As well as being talented, which, of course, you are and so many others are.
It is, but I feel like I've got a very mature head on me. And the way I'm confident in my ability, I'm confident that I can get better, and I'm confident that I've only shown the tip of the iceberg with what I can do and what I'm going to do. So I feel like that's fine. If I'm not going to get it because the right promoter gives it me, if I'm not going to get it because the people on Twitter get behind me, that's fine. Like, I will get there, and I know I will, and I'll do everything. And I could be wrong. I could laugh at myself in 20 years thinking, that was funny. Like, but right now my mindset is very much, I will get there. I'm just trying to figure out the best way for me to do it. Like, I what's there and see I'm going to do it regardless. Like, because, you know, in the past, like, not a lot of people, not everybody who gets signed or whatever, like, if you, for example, NXT UK, if you look at everybody on NXT UK, they were all thought of as, you know, like, talents in the UK. Not all of them had that big, like, all eyes on them moment where they all shot up and then it was one after the other and pick them best 20. Like, it wasn't that. Some people just go about their thing, do their thing, get spoke about. They're just kind of like a well-known, respected wrestler who everyone knows is good, but they're not always talking about on Twitter. There's more things to do than kind of just want everybody's, like, I feel like as long as I'm happy with what I'm doing at the end of the day, that's all I'm bothered about. I need validation from myself. And when I think there's something wrong, it's like last year I dropped out of the gym a bit and I weren't doing as well as I should have been. And I'm like, I ain't about to complain about me not getting opportunities or something because, and it is true, like, work harder. And it's the same, like, I could have been working harder and I should have been, and I did. And now, it just so happens I've been trying to do that and I've had 3 debuts in the first month and a half. So it's like, it is true, like, you get out what you put in. You honestly do get out what you put in. And that, like, going back to Leon, like, Leon's put in a ton of work. Like, he's a great person as well outside of wrestling. So, fair play to him because he deserves everything that he's getting.
Absolutely.
And more. But yeah, I think it is hard. It can be hard sometimes. You do get frustrated when you feel like you're doing everything you can and you're not getting it. But at the end of the day, what's meant to be will be. And if you're that determined on getting there and you want it that bad, I feel like it will come.
Yeah, for sure.
It might not be how you want it to, but it will come. And I'm just right now, like, I don't get pulled down by people who, say, for example, people who've not been training as long as me. Like, I've, like, not including lockdown, I think it's like 4 years. People who've not been doing it as long as me, or people who are quite new, like, shooting up and getting it. I don't get annoyed at that because there's reasons for them getting that, and there's reasons even my time is yet to come. Like, I mean, I say this like I'm nobody. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing quite well. I've just debuted on TNT. Like, I've got quite a few debuts going. Like, I've got Wrestle Carnival coming up again. Like, there's stuff going off. It's just, in terms of that monster, like, big difference where you notice it, where somebody all of a sudden just becomes everywhere. Like, I'd love nothing more than that. But it doesn't pull me down seeing other people get it at all. Because they get it because they're just as good, if not they're killing it even more. So fair play to them.
No, fair. Yeah, well said. And we always we've got like a final closing feature here on the show. It's called Anatomy of a Pro Wrestler. So we've got to know you a bit, and this is going to get to know you a bit more. This is a shoot now. This isn't about Adam Bolt in the ring. This is about you now, and this is sort of like a quick fire thing to like. It's sort of like a get to know you kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. So I'll list off some questions, and you let me know what comes to mind.
Okay.
All right. So we talked about sort of like what you have pre-show before a match, but the first one is my favorite post-pinfall pig out.
20 chicken nuggets.
Nice. What dips do you go for?
I used to be weird, right? And I am still weird. Like, you're talking to the person who doesn't like pizza. I hate pizza.
That's weird. That is weird.
Yeah, everyone says that. Just getting that out there now because a lot of people judge me for it anyway. But, like, I was the person that would eat stuff like that and not have dips. I just thought they were weird. Like, I didn't like them. It's like, I don't like ketchup either. I think that's weird.
God, this is mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is. Like, you're learning a lot.
I can't comprehend. Like, for me, the nuggets are like the vehicle to have the sauce. Exactly.
This is what I told you. I'm weird. It's a strange thing. I don't know where it comes from, but for me, I really like the sour cream and chive dip.
Nice.
Aside from the fact that I've got to pay for it and they never put it in the bag. But because you know all others are free, you pay for that like what 60p, and then you get around corner, you look, and then put it in.
Yeah. But, that's kind.
That's what I go for when I've post-pinfall. That's all I need.
Fair enough. Well, it could be the same answer then, because this is mind-blowing about the food, but the next one is it's the classic, what would your like death row meal be? What would your last meal be?
It definitely have to be Nando's.
Yeah,
right?
Nice.
Some people say it's overrated because it's just chicken, but when you want a Nando's, right, there's no meal, I don't think, on this earth that I've had yet where when you're in the mood for it, it's that satisfying when you get it. Like, if you wake up and you think, I could murder a Nando's today, and you get that Nando's, it's game over. Like, it's as well, like, let's appreciate the cheesecake as well. Not a lot of people tried it. The gooey caramel cheesecake from Nando's is a game changer.
Is it? I've not had it. I can't say I've had it, so I'll have to try that next time.
Like, honestly, because there's always room for dessert, right? And when I have that, it just tops my day off. I'm ready for bed then, even if it's midday.
Nice.
Like, my day's not going to get better than this.
What sides do you go for then? We talked about dips earlier. What sides do you go for? This is another crucial question.
See, obviously, like chips and stuff, but I like the halloumi, the grilled halloumi they do.
Nice, yeah.
Like, not because they do the halloumi steaks with the dip starter, but like the grilled halloumi, I think it's like £1.50, you get 2 squares. Like that and garlic bread, and like, it's just amazing. Although I will say, I have never, ever been physically sick before a match or after a match or anything like that. I made the mistake last year of having a 3-course Nando's about 5 hours before I wrestled.
That's sitting heavy, yeah. That's...
match, like, and the worst part is during the match it was against Brandon Brooks at House of Pain. I went for a springboard 450 and I didn't rotate enough because the ropes weren't great on that show, and it ended up being like a springboard coup de grace because my feet came down really heavy, like, my stomach, and then I was the one being sick because I was like, is your stomach all right? Yeah, 1 minute, and I was like,
brilliant. Oh, that's awful. That is awful. Yeah, never make that mistake again. The next one, we mentioned your music taste, and you said it's unlike anyone else, so I'm curious about this one. It's the song that gets me the most hyped.
I would say my entrance music.
Nice.
Right? It's purely because, like, I connect with it on a different level. Like, I can't listen to it in my car anymore, though. Like, if I've got Spotify on and I'm driving somewhere and it comes on a shuffle, I can't listen to it because it just reminds me of, like, wrestling, and I just picture myself. Like, that song's gone for me now. But I think that because it's like, it's part of our character as well. I mean, the song is called Make It Look Good, which is where I got the whole thing from, because I realised, well, this is kind of what I do. And like, the vibe about it is very me, so I feel like I don't feel like there is a more perfect entrance music for what I do.
Nice.
So I feel like when I hear that, especially like before a show, because like I said, it has like that 20 to 30 second build up before like I go out. So when I hear that, I'm like just dancing away. Like, a lot of people stand behind curtain. I think it was, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Lizzie and Alexis at TNT. While it was kicking in, before I went out, they were stood behind the curtain and they were just kind of like, just vibing with it. And I was like, I'm about to go out, like, because it just gets me in the mood for it. So yeah, I'd definitely say that.
Love it. The next one is the movie that I chose, The Locker Room.
The movie?
Yeah, so like I always say, it doesn't have to be like your favourite movie, but the movie you think everyone should see.
See, I don't know, because I feel like I would have to go with my favourite movie, because I think if it's a movie that everyone should see, I feel like I'd be here for hours trying to think. But which is very ironic because another one comes out soon. I'm a massive horror fan, love horror films, and my favourite ever is Scream.
Oh, there's been too many Screams now. They've overdone the Scream.
Well, you'd think so. The worst part is that because of Scream as well, like it's like it's not like a continuing thing. It's like somebody it gets less believable every time, because it's like, oh, there's another one. But I think the thing is, what does it for me? It's just the big whodunit sort of thing. Because I haven't seen it, and it's like, I know Scream 6 comes out in March, but this one, from what I've heard and what I've seen about it, is supposed to be like really good.
Yeah, it's got a good cast as well. It's got a good cast. The Scream movies always managed to get a decent cast. Like,
they predict that it might be the one that, because since the original 3, the others haven't obviously matched them on box office. Scream 5 did very good, but they're hoping that it will at least be, obviously it probably will not be the first, let's be honest, but be somewhere up there with them. So
hopefully, we'll see.
I could watch Scream, like, I've watched it this week, I could watch it again next week.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I get you. The next one's a bit of a throwback, because it's my first job.
My first job? My first job was Toys R Us.
What a job. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I got. I was in sixth form. I needed I got a Christmas temporary job at Toys R Us.
Nice.
I think Monday to Thursday, 6 till 10 every night. Loved it, and then they kept me on a 0-hour contract after, and it was just great. Like,
I tell you what, for like a teenager, Toys R Us, what a first job.
Like, as well, like you can only imagine my excitement when, like, I'm just doing my thing, and then somebody comes up to me and they're like, "Oh, like, have you got?" Because like when they ask you about something and you're not entirely sure, you can just be stood there like, I don't know. But when they was like, "Oh, my son wants this particular wrestler," like, and before they even finished, I'm like, "Give me that, I'll have a look."
Yeah.
And I would like, I wouldn't, because a lot of people are just like, "Oh, I've only got what's out," which let me just tell you, lie. That's never true. So at least if you don't know, as a shop floor sales assistant, what is in the bag. Your manager might tell you everything you've got is out. Well, I guarantee that is wrong. So go and check and stop being lazy. So that's what I used to do. I used to go through it all, because I'd be like, I just liked looking through them. And like, I'd charge of like sorting that bit out, because like, with the way they come in boxes as well, you'll get like, because they come in series, don't they? You know, like some of them have like 60 or whatever. And people will just take like the first few out, which means there might be like 3 Randy Ortons on the shelf. But in that series is also like, I don't know, Kurt Angle. And there's 2 of them, and they're still in the box in the back, which then you're telling them, oh, well, Papa going in on this, because you can tell it's frustrated.
Yeah.
But I'd be like, oh, I've only got what's out. And I'm like, nah, you're lying. Like, bitch, you lie, because the Kurt Angle in back. But yeah, it was. I actually really enjoyed it. It's quite funny.
No, I get that. That's a good one. That's a good first job. I don't, like you say though, I never understood that. Like again, my first job was in retail. I think a lot of people, it's either retail or fast food, isn't it, as a first job?
Yeah.
But like, I never understood, like, if someone asked me if something was in the back, I'd say like, oh, I'll go and look, even if I knew there wasn't, because it just gives you a little break, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know why more people wouldn't take advantage of that.
They're like, we've only got what's out. It's like, right, so you want me to believe we're in this big, what appears to be a warehouse toy shop, toys on every aisle, and you've got nothing in the back that isn't out yet?
Yeah.
Like,
it seems unlikely. Yeah. That's good. I like that. The next one is it's my greatest fear.
Oh. I think my greatest fear would be it'd kind of be not making it in some form of degree, because I have no backup on wrestling. Like, there's jobs I do that I'm happy with. Like, I like my job I do now, but I've never really considered, like, what would it mean for me if, like, I'm 35, 40 and I've never made it. And I think they make it as in, like, that means, like, main event in WrestleMania. I mean, come on. But I just mean, like, being acknowledged and, like, recognised as somebody who was very, like, one of the best at what they do. Be able to get a living from it, I think. Like, if I could get a living from wrestling, like, I'd be winning, because I'm getting paid to do what I love. So, like, I think my biggest fear is that not happening or failing, I think. Because it's one thing to not get it and then look back and be like, oh, well, I could have tried harder. But if you know you're putting your all into it and it still doesn't happen, like, it's like, what do you tell yourself in your mind to make that okay? Like,
No, I get that. I get that. No, fair enough. The next one is my favourite animal.
Oh, animal. Do you know what? I think my favourite animal is probably a panda.
Nice.
I don't know why.
I do like pandas. I go red panda myself.
Oh,
they're smaller and cuter.
Because like I see these things, right? Like I remember there's a Netflix documentaries and stuff they do. It's like them 72 most dangerous animals and stuff like that. And you'll see things like pandas on it, and you just think they don't look how they act, and they don't act like they look. You'd think that'd be something you could just pick up, put in your room, sit there, like a bear.
Yeah.
Like you'd like to be a bear, you could just walk up and stroke, like no. So I just think if I could have like a pet panda, right, that was trained right, and it wasn't like aggressive, I'd be winning. I love it. Like,
that is the dream.
Yeah.
It's a little panda you can like, well, not little, a big panda you can like cuddle up and watch TV with.
Yeah, like imagine just sitting there on your bed watching TV and this like panda, like this big, like bigger than the biggest sized dog, just comes up, jumps on your bed and just like, is with you. Like I wouldn't need anybody to bed on a night. I'd be fine.
Yeah, you wouldn't, would you? You got your cuddling about it. That's fine. Love it. I like that. The next one is my favourite match stipulation.
Oh, now I think it's a bit hard because I think people might not look at it as a stipulation. My favourite match, like I'd like to watch on TV, is Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
But in terms of a match stipulation, which
I think the Rumble's a stipulation.
See, I think it is as well. But some people kind of be like, well, it's not, and I'm like, well, what is it then?
Well, I see a stipulation as like any different type of match. So like triple threat, fatal four-way, ladder match, tables, TLC. You know what I mean? Like I class Royal Rumble in that. Like I class Survivor Series match in that.
Yeah, whereas some people see stipulation as like, if it's a triple threat, but it's normal, that's not a stipulation. A stipulation is like if it's a triple threat table match.
Oh, no. We're counting like a triple threat is a stipulation for a match.
Right.
So like basically any match type is basically what I'm saying.
I think sometimes, which sounds daft, like I had a no disqualification match a few months ago, and we didn't go crazy with it because I think sometimes for the crowd you're doing it in front of, like you really don't need to. You can make it work without it. We used a few baking trays, kendo sticks, stuff like that. But in a weird way, you'd think, oh, it's absolutely sucks getting hit with them, and it does. Like the mark I had on my stomach from it was awful. But it's such an easy night as well because you don't really need to remember much. Like you just like feel like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna hit you with this, have that. Like it's not like oh yes, I'm gonna pick you up for this. You're gonna drop down. You're gonna run off. You're gonna duck this, duck that, duck this. It's like no, who needs that? Have a few sticks. Yeah,
it's a lot more like ad hoc kind of thing.
One of the match what I've always liked for the suspense wise of it and stuff like that, which I would always love to take part in, probably not so much for the bumps and stuff, is a ladder match because there's just like there's so many different things you can do with like the suspense of like the climbing. And,
everyone's got to do the slow climb, don't they? You've got at one point in your career, everyone's got to do the slow climb up the ladder.
Like the sign pointing, like if you're a wrestler. It's like you sign a contract that like you must be like at a certain low speed with climbing ladders, otherwise you can't be a wrestler. So, like the climbing and like it's like the things you can do like with on top. Like how many times have you ever seen good ladder matches with stuff where like both of them are on the ladder and you like don't know what's going to happen and stuff. Especially with, like the multi-man ones with Money in the Bank. Like you've got people like springboarding in, you've got people falling out. It's like there's just so much you can do. I mean, I don't know how much I would love to do it on like it depends what show it is. If it was somewhere like FD, and it was like, I don't know, they'd come up with a new thing where they're doing like a 6-man ladder match or something. Now, isn't it? I'd love it. But like, if someone asked me to do it on like a family show or something, I just wouldn't because I just think
it doesn't have the same feel, does it? It's a bit weird doing those sort of matches on a family show. I think.
If I'm doing a ladder match, first of all, I want good footage of it. Like, about to get thrown off a ladder for 39-year-old Karen to remember it tomorrow and then forget about it. Like, no, I'm doing it because I'm going to post it everywhere and I want it to be. Like,
no,
yeah, I'm not. So I think a ladder match. It's definitely something I'd want to do. Don't think any of my family and like would be too happy about it. I think it'd be a bit like, but We're wrestlers. We're stupid.
Exactly, and that's why we love you, and that's why we love you for putting your bodies on the line for us.
Yeah.
The next one is my favourite place in the world.
Oh, favourite place in the world. Now, I would just keep it simple and say my bed.
That is what Scotty Rourke told us.
I see, this is why I like Scotty Rourke. Scotty Rourke speaks the truth. So, like, my bed is my favourite place in the world, especially when, like, it's just quiet. You know, I think in terms of actual places I've been, I would definitely say New York.
Nice.
It was one place on earth where I've always wanted to go as a kid, and I went in 2018, and it was, because obviously with New York as well, you see it a lot in films and stuff, and it's like, and it's literally everything and more. Like, everything what you see in films is everything what it was.
Lived up to the expectation.
Yeah, if I was like a millionaire or I had a lot of money, I would definitely have like some sort of penthouse in New York where when I'm fed up with people over here, which is probably every day, I would just go to New York for 3 months and just stop there for a bit and then come back and then probably go back again the next day.
Love it. Well, then let's say not New York for this last one because it's my dream holiday destination.
My dream holiday it depends. My dream holiday would be the moon. Now, this sounds stupid, right? But my idea is, I just think, like, stood on the moon, right? Looking back at the Earth, in just being like, do you know what? Like, don't like any of you.
You know what? I'll allow it because I feel like holidays on the moon are maybe not too far off in terms of like actually being a possibility. So I'll allow that. I think that's a good shout.
But if humanity, do you know what I mean? Like, just go away for a bit. But no, seriously though, I think my main holiday destination, I have 2 of them, would be Mexico. Which I am fortunate enough to be going in May.
Nice.
Which is annoying because it seems that every year I go on one holiday, right? And every time I do, I miss something big because of it. And this year I'm missing Effie's big gay brunch.
Yes, yeah, I remember you tweeting about that, missing that.
Of course I'm missing that. Wouldn't have been a different show, would it? But I think as well it'd be LA mainly. Like, and I don't know if that's Adam Bolt talking or whatever because he thinks he's from there anyway. But like LA is definitely.
Well, you got to take him out there though, don't you? You got to take him out there and see if he fits in.
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't, he'd come back and tell people he does anyway. So.
Brilliant. Well, Adam Bolt, thank you so much for coming on the Grapple Theory podcast. It's been a blast having you on. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yes, I have. It's been quite fun actually. A lot of people that have got something to say about it, but I'm here for it. So
I'm glad. That means a lot. And I'm sure plenty of people will have something to say about the stuff we've talked about. But we've got a couple of closing points. The first one, I'll admit, I've sort of nicked from, I don't know if you know it, the Diary of a CEO podcast.
I don't.
Oh, it's quite a popular one on YouTube. I'd recommend checking it out. He does some really good interviews. But he ends his podcast like this, and I just love the concept. So I've nicked it, and I'm sure he won't mind because we're a nothing channel, and he's like a multi-millionaire. So I'm sure he won't mind. But it's essentially ending with our last guest has asked us a question to ask you. You're not allowed to know who the guest is. You're only allowed to get the question, and then you'll get a question for the next guest.
Oh, okay.
So the question is, in no context whatsoever with who asked it, who's the daddy?
Why do I feel like I know who that would be?
You can tell me afterwards. You can let me know afterwards if you think you know who it is.
Who's the daddy? See, I feel like based on what we've talked about, I feel like if I say me, I'm going to be welcoming everything I've just said I don't want.
Yeah, that's tricky, isn't it? Yeah.
But I'm not going to say anyone else. I'm just going to say me, but with a bit of brackets, like, not in that way.
Love it.
I ain't about to be called a daddy. I'm just like, it's like main man, isn't it?
Yeah, so, No, I like it. I love it.
So, I could say somebody else thinking it was them, and then I could be completely wrong, and then they're going to be like, weirdo.
No, well, they asked it, and I said to them at the point, I was like, out of context, this is going to be a mental question to ask someone. But I love that. Well, our final, like, the way we end every podcast is by giving our guest one final bit of promo time. So if anyone sees you on a poster or you post on Twitter that you're a True Grit or TNT or up north or in the south or wherever you might be wrestling, if anyone sees you on a match poster, wants to come and check out Adam Bolt, why is Adam Bolt going to steal the show?
So first of all, I feel like you're not going to see anything else like me on that show. And that sounds very, like, generic, but in all fairness, I think it's true. Like I say, different dynamic. It's me and Jack. You want us to piss you off, we'll do it. You want us to make you laugh, we'll do it. And in terms of the wrestling ability, like if you're nice and you ask me to put on a bit of a show, I might do a couple of things that take some effort. Like, I feel like it's like I said, it's just like a bit of an all-rounded thing. Like I like to bring a bit of more than one thing for a show. Like I don't like to focus on one thing. I like to just make it as good of an experience as it possibly can be. So, and plus, I mean, if you want to, each show, I can imagine at some point somebody has decided between a wrestling show and a night out. Like the night out might only last a minute with my entrance music, but if you come to a wrestling show, you'll get both. Because if you get up and dance, I'll dance with you. Even if I don't like you, like I'll still dance with you because my entrance music is banging. So it'd be a good time, and you get to look at all my fabulous gear as well. Like this gear that I got made, like every colour you can imagine. Like it's just like it's like a night out, a fashion show, and a wrestling show, and a comedy show all in one.
It's like, a win-win-win-win.
I'm like the Royal Variety Performance.